Morning friends, I welcome you all to our chemistry class. In this class, we are going to see the next lesson, that is metals and non-metals. So today we will see the introduction of metals and non-metals. So all the properties of metals and non-metals you may know. Now once again we will discuss that all things in detail now. So about metals. So the metals are the substance which conduct heat and electricity. So the metals are the substance which conducts heat and electricity. So when you see, they are malleable and ductile in nature. So what is the meaning of malleable? Malleable means the substance can be beaten or hammered to make a different shape. For example, you can take aluminium. So this aluminium can be hammered or it can be beaten to form thin sheets. And these aluminium thin sheets are then used for wrapping the food materials. So aluminium is a metal which is used for wrapping the food products. Then another example is, you can see copper. So copper is a metal which is again can be beaten or hammered to make into thin sheets for making the household utensils or cooking utensils. Or we can nowadays you are using copper bottles. So these bottles are made up by beating the copper into thin plates. So here malleable means this metal is beaten or hammered to make thin sheets. Then ductile. So what is the meaning of ductility? Ductility means the substance can be drawn into thin wires. So you can see copper. So copper is made into thin wires and this copper can be used in electricity. And also gold, when you see, the gold is made into thin wires. It can be drawn into thin wires for making different ornaments. So this is about malleable and ductility. Some of the examples of metals are, you can see iron, aluminium, copper, then silver, gold, platinum, zinc, lead and mercury. So here these are some of the examples of metal. So when you see among all the metals, so there are so many metals existing. I gave only small number. So here existing metals, all the metals are usually hard in nature and they are solid in nature. So they are very hard and solid in nature. So among all these things, you can see the mercury, which is the exception case. So this mercury is available in liquid form at room temperature. So due to the liquid property of mercury at room temperature, this mercury is used in thermometer. And you can see another exception is sodium. So when you see sodium, sodium is a very soft metal. So the property of metal is all the metals are hard in nature. But what happens is, when you see sodium, the sodium is a metal, even though it is not hard in nature, it is very soft in nature. So mercury, sodium, these are exceptional case. They are known as metal only, but they do not show the property of metal. Then these metals lose electron to form positively charged ion, that is cation. So when you see the metal, so for example if you see copper loses the electron. So it loses one of the electron or two of the electron and it gains positive charge. So this positive charge atom is known as cation, and due to this nature it is known as electropositive elements. These elements are also known as electropositive elements. So these elements are known as metal. As they lose an electron and they form cation, they are also known as electropositive elements. Now lastly, coming to the uses of metal. These metals are used in making cooking utensils. As already I said, these are used for making cooking utensils and these are used for making electrical work and vehicles. These metals are mixed with some other metals. They are used for making vehicles also. And if one or two metals are mixed together, the composition varies. For example, these are known as alloy. So if two or more metals are combined together to form another one substance, that substance is known as alloy. So this is the introduction about metal. Now the next one is introduction about non-metals. So when you see non-metals will be possessing the characteristics opposite of metal. So here when you see non-metals do not conduct heat and electricity. So non-metals are the substance which do not conduct heat and electricity. They are neither malleable nor ductile. So when you take a metal, so they are usually very soft in nature. So when you take a non-metal and you beat it, it will break into powder or pieces. So they are brittle in nature. Some of the examples of non-metal are carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. So these are the non-metals which exist in our surroundings. So here diamond and graphite are also examples of non-metal only, but these are exceptional case. They occur as a very strong, very hard non-metals. So usually, as I said, non-metals are soft in nature, but these two, diamond and graphite, they are very hard in nature. They possess the characteristics of metal, even though they are non-metal. Then bromine. Bromine is another exception. Here bromine is a liquid at room temperature. So already as we saw, non-metals are substances which are soft in nature. So here again bromine is a non-metal which occurs as a liquid at room temperature. Then these non-metal gain electron to form cation. So these non-metals has the tendency to gain electrons to form anions. So these type of elements are known as electronegative elements. So non-metals has the capacity or has the tendency to gain electrons. So they are known as electronegative elements. So these non-metals are otherwise known as electronegative elements. Then coming to the uses of non-metal. Non-metals compared to metals, non-metals play a vital role in everyday life. So when you see carbon, so carbon compounds like, so carbon is present in animals, plants and all other living organisms. So carbon compounds are present everywhere. So when you see protein, fat, vitamin, carbohydrate, everywhere it is a compound of carbon. So as carbon is a non-metal, it exists each and everywhere. Then the next one is oxygen. So as non-metal, oxygen is a non-metal. Without oxygen, life can't survive. So it is important for the existence of life. Then when you see nitrogen, nitrogen is another non-metal which slows down the rate of combustion. So this non-metal is used for bringing down, that is bringing down the rate of combustion, for making put off the fire. And apart from this, you can see sulfur. Sulfur is also a non-metal which is used for making pesticides, fungicides or fertilizers in field also. So this is the introduction of lesson metal and non-metal. So this is the introduction of metal and non-metal. So by this class, you may be able to know or you may be able to analyze which element is a metal and which element is a non-metal. Depending upon learning the introduction of metal and non-metal, we can learn the further topics. Okay children, so I hope that today you understand this one, and also I hope I ask you all to take down notes of this in your notes room. So every day whenever I take class, you take the notes of these all notes in your notes note and write it down. The next day when we start with the new topic, I will ask question in this last day portion, and then only we will start the class. So this is the introduction of metal and non-metal. Note it in your notes. Thank you.